Hello everyone, it is Mel from Diabetes Primer and it is Sunday. One of the articles which I've read during the week was called Resistance Exercise Training Lowers HbA1C More Than Aerobic Training in Adults Living with Type 2 Diabetes. This was an article that was published in 2009 in Diabetology and Metabolic Syndrome Journal, and the authors were Selma Buer et al. I'm cheating, I know, but I'm going to put the link to the article into the comments below. So what the authors did was they took a sample size of about 20 people and they split them into two groups. The first group was put into the resistance exercise group, and this group would go on to do weights, and the other group was put into the aerobic group, and this group would use the treadmill to walk on the treadmill. So both groups met 3 times a week, and each session was 30 minutes. The resistance group, they did a round robin of weightlifting machines, and they exercised various parts of their bodies on these weights, whereas the treadmill group walked on the treadmill, but they had to walk to a pace. And you can have a look in the journal article as to the requirements as to how fast they had to walk, where they had to get the heart rate up to. So what the outcome was, neither group made intervention, and neither intervention made any difference on their blood pressure or their heart rate. So whatever the blood pressure or the heart rate was at the beginning of the 10 weeks, it was the same at the end of the 10 weeks. Where there were differences was in the blood glucose levels and the HbA1C. And in the blood glucose, with the blood glucose levels, they found that the blood glucose levels trended down for both groups over the 10-week period. Not only did it trend down over the 10-week period, it also trend down over the session. So if I'm a subject, I'm one of the participants in the group, and when I arrive, they take my blood glucose level, and at the end of my 30 minutes, they take it again. So the reading at the end of the exercise was lower than the reading at the start of the exercise. But overall, the people in the resistance exercise group did better than the people who were using the treadmill. And 80% of the people in the resistance group dropped their blood glucose level to within normal limits, whereas only 20% of the treadmill group were able to do that. So the other parameter, very important parameter, was that the authors also looked at HbA1C. I always want to say hemoglobin, HbA1C. And what they found was that the treadmill group, the people who walked in the treadmill, were not able to bring their HbA1C to below 7%. Whereas the people who were doing the weights, the resistance groups, I think it was 40% of them that actually dropped the HbA1C to below 70%. And both groups started out at the same level, or the same HbA1C. The HbA1C of the people in the resistance group was 8.7% before the intervention, before the 10 weeks. And the HbA1C of the people who used the treadmill, that was 8.9%. And unfortunately, the treadmill people did not get below that 7%, that HbA1C of 7%. So what we do know about resistance exercise is that it makes the cells more sensitive to glucose. And what other studies have found was that if you engage in resistance exercise for a period of 12 months, a year, just over a year, 14 months, then there are actually positive changes your endothelial cell function. Now, you know this, the endothelial cells lines your vessels, your blood vessels, and usually in people living with diabetes, these blood vessels are usually, or the endothelial cells are damaged. So there are an increasing laying down of plaques, fat plaques, lipids, right? Cholesterol. And it is this damaged blood vessels that cause the heart attacks, that cause the coronary artery syndrome, the heart failure, the angina, and it's also this plaque that clogs up our vessels that causes peripheral vascular disease and the blindness. So I think it's really important to know that there is something that we can do beside taking medication that can improve the health of our vessels, that can bring down that build-up of plaque and, and lipids in our vessels. So you all know that I'm very resistant to lifting my weights. So my goal for the next week is to actually engage with the weights and not just dust them off. So I'm going to post the article in the comments below the video. And I would appreciate it if you could leave me a comment below the video to let me know that you have stopped by and you've had a look at the video. And I will see you next Sunday